Don't listen to him.
Grace, we're gonna find a way out of this, I promise.
I am your way out. This world already left you for dead. Won't let you build. Won't let you fellowship. We will do just that. Together. Forever.
It's better this way, baby. So why don't you go ahead and invite us in?
You should listen to him, Grace, or listen to me. Because I know everything he knows now, and I want you to let us in there.
You're the devil, ain't you?
Sammy! You're the one I came for. I sensed you. I want to see my people again. I'm trapped here, but your gifts can bring them to me. Y'all give them to me now. Just give me a little Sammy. We'll let y'all live.
Hey everybody, welcome to an all-new sweet episode of Citizen Frame. I'm your host, Ciaran. As always ready to be there to fill you all with knowledge of my great movie expertise.
Useless knowledge.
Oh, and there's Trevor, by the way. Speaking of useless knowledge.
Hello there.
Sorry, Mick Gatiss isn't in this film.
Mark Gatiss.
Oh, Mark, well, fuck his name is.
Get it right.
We decided, as we mentioned last week, we're going to jump into a film that just has come out and breaking box office numbers. A pretty big budget, considering I don't really see the budget, but $90 million, and it's made almost 352 worldwide million. So good on it. It's nice to see horror do well, especially this kind of horror. This is a movie called Sinners. Now, before we go any further, this is spoiler filled. It is a new release. If you don't want to know the spoils, you gotta keep listening anyway, because you're here. It's rude to leave. It's rude to leave a party early.
Yeah. Stick with it.
So we got Ryan Coogler, who I have a lot of respect for as a director. He's the creator of the Black Panther series and the Creed series. And he always works with his boy, Michael B. Jordan. Kind of like a Scorsese De Niro kind of relationship going on there.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Black Panther films, but I'm not into Marvel, each to their own, but I have seen some Marvel films, but I have seen the first two Creed films and I really like them.
Yeah, the Creed films are solid. I'm not a big fan of the Black Panther movies, but I can respect Ryan Coogler's vision and just as him as a visionary and as a director, especially now. I think I like the fact he's really a good grab bag. He's known for Fruitvale Station, that kind of introduced him to Michael B. Jordan and put Michael B. Jordan on the map, then the Black Panthers, then he does the Creed. So he's a grab bag of all different genres, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
Especially now tackling horror. So he wrote and directed this. Good on him. And his two movies that he said he would inspire him the most was From Dusk Till Dawn and The Faculty.
Yes.
And I can see where he's coming from, especially From Dusk Till Dawn. But it's kind of, how do you do this without sounding racist?
Go ahead.
But no one knows I'm racist. I'm not a racist.
You're a dick, but I wouldn't go that far. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a douchebag, but I'm not a racist. When it comes to, I know you're going to want to jump in here, and you're not going to jump in, right, Trevor?
Okay, go ahead. I'd like to say your bet that I will jump in, but yes, go ahead. Say your bet first.
There we go. Now, when it comes to black horror films, I'm familiar with them, but you don't get a lot of them. And when they do, they're not the best. All the way from the 70s black exploitation films that were coming up, like Shaft and all, we had Blackula. And then you had movies like Bones came out, Tales from the Hood, Vampire in Brooklyn was directed by Wes Craven with Eddie Murphy. Didn't work. I'm going to be honest with you, the only kind of black horror cinema I really got into was the original Candyman back in the early 90s. And it wasn't really till the Jordan Peele era kicked in where you started getting smarter black horror films, if that makes any sense. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a racist. I'm not.
No, you don't. You're criticizing media. That's perfectly 100% fine. You're not criticizing the color of someone's skin. So chill. But yeah, I mean, I quite like the sort of Blackula stuff and the exploitation stuff from the 19th, the blaxploitation stuff from the 70s, and obviously Quentin Tarantino did Jackie Brown, which was a homage to that era. But yeah, I mean, they certainly have their flaws. I would actually prefer that stuff than the more recent stuff like, Get Out and stuff, which I would have to rewatch Get Out, but I quite liked it at the time, and I liked the sort of Twilight Zone feel of it. Us, also directed by Jordan Peele, I thought it was entertaining but flawed. But
yeah, just sit there and say Blackula. You'd rather watch Blackula over those? Come on.
I don't know. Yeah, well, yes, because it's kind of I like my sort of campy, cheesy sort of exploitation stuff. It's because they're different styles of films. But I like my sort of campy 70s cheese, and again, that's not being disrespectful to the 70s exploitation and black exploitation stuff. But I do enjoy. I have a soft spot for it. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't actually class the Candyman series as black horror, so to speak. But, because by Clive Barker, essentially. But, obviously you have, Tony Todd and stuff, and, the
you do,
Cabrini Green.
Of course, it's black horror.
Well,
it is. And quite frankly, Sinners is a lot, because Sinners deals with a very tough topic. So does Candyman. But being able to turn it into an enjoyable fantasy kind of horror film is ballsy. And Bernard Rose directed Candyman. He was white and written by a white guy, but it's still the core audience is possibly the black audience.
I think possibly I might be associating Candyman too much with the original Clive Barker story, The Unforgiven, which is not set in Cabrini Green in Chicago. It's actually set at a white working class estate in Liverpool. So possibly that's maybe my subconscious association with it.
Yeah, pretty much. Night and day. But yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so we're here to talk Sinners, and we're going to jump into it and see what I thought. It was a gray area for me in this one, but I've watched it twice, to be fair to it, and we'll see what happens. Now, I want to give a personal shout out to this young man. He's new to the game. His name is Michael Canton, and he plays the lead, Sammy, and just an amazing little artist here. He's great. He's got a deep voice. He reminds me of Hosier. Remember that guy Hosier? Hosier's got that deep.
The singer, the Irish singer.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got that deep voice.
Take Me to Church was a great single by him. Yeah.
Yeah, that same guy. And sounds a lot like him. Beautiful voice, very talented young man. And I just want to give him a shout. It's his first film, so good on him.
I believe the guitar playing is all by him as well.
It is. And a great ending, which we'll talk about. But now we got Sammy Jebediah, that's his dad, the preacher, played by Saul Williams. We got Smoke and Stack, twin brothers, played by Michael B. Jordan. We got the fucking great Scene Stealer. Loved him every time he's in it. He's right up there with Chris Sarandon. And Colin Farrell is Remick, played by Jack O'Connell.
Yes.
You got Ruthie, played by Adrienne Ward Hammond. You got Haley Steinfeld as token white woman. I'm just kidding. She's Mary. We got Delta Slim, played by, I love to see him, Delroy Lindo. You needed a good veteran actor in here. And
he was basically in loads of stuff in like the 80s and the 90s and stuff.
He still is. He is.
Yeah.
He's so good. And Guess Shorty, he was so good in that. Then you got Cornbread. You got other vampires like Bert and Joan. And then you got Pearline, Grace, and Terry, and Bo, and so forth. And so forth. A lot of people in here. So I was getting lost a little bit, but finally found my footing. And let's just jump into it.
Okay.
The opening scenes always fun. I always like the opening scenes where films where they like to give you the ending before we see everything. So
yes, and then it goes back. Yeah,
exactly. So we see Sammy, guitar broken up. He's got a big claw mark on his face, and his father's telling him, "Drop the guitar, son, drop the guitar." Because we find out in the near future, we find out during flashbacks and stuff that his father's anti-music. He thinks it's the devil's music. Blah, blah, blah. So he's blaming the music for what happens to his face and blah, blah, blah. Then we cut to a day earlier.
Yeah, and that's why it's such a clever title as well, because, who are the sinners? According to Sammy's dad, it's Sammy and the gang, Michael B. Jordan and stuff, they're the sinners because they're playing the devil's music and stuff, but, then it could be the vampires and, it's a very clever title.
And that's why I had to rewatch it, because who the real sinners are.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's what he was trying to do. Is it is it Stack? Is it Stack and Smoke, the brothers who show up in town to cause a wicked little havoc, or is it the vampires who, during a time, especially down south in Mississippi, can offer them hope and lifelong, eternity, I guess you can say. Then you got the KKK, and so you have these three elements, and who is the real sinner? And then that's pretty much what
maybe they're all sinners in their own way. Maybe we are all sinners. You know what I mean? And it is clever in that respect.
Yeah. I think vampire would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I would love to be a vampire.
Of course you would, you sick freak.
And the first person that'd come and fucking do over would be you.
Fuck that. I'll be eating garlic bread all day. I'll be fucking just ready to go, man. You'll be dead in a minute.
Bullshit. You know what I mean? You're no Peter Cushing to my Christopher Lee.
Fuck that. You'd be gone, man. I was like, oh God, Trevor, come on, man.
I'd be the best Dracula ever. Suave, sophisticated, badass.
Now, back to reality. The one film that I did have a problem with, and it's probably my ignorance, but the actors were speaking with a Southern drawl and a Mississippi accent, and when spoken fast, and they mumble, and so now that eventually changes when there's less background noise happening, when the music stops playing, and there's more conversation between the vampires and themselves. I can understand, but when there's a lot of background noise going on, I did have a tendency, I have trouble, especially with Michael B. Jordan, what he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I get to the authenticity of it, which is, it works obviously well in that respect, but there was times I was having to listen closely to the dialogue because of the, the Southern drawl, which they all speak with.
Yeah, and that's fine, of course, and that's on me. I watched the second time, and it kind of fell into place. I also had subtitles on, so it probably helped.
Right? And you're American too?
No, I got most of it. I got the vampires.
Right?
Well, he's Irish, so,
Yeah.
Top of the morning to your lass. Huh?
The Rocky Road to Dublin. We'll get that scene soon.
That was a great fucking scene.
Amazing.
All right. So now they don't tell you for sure where the brothers got their money. And so
they suggest it, though.
They suggest it was Capone.
Yes, they were basically, it suggested that they're working for, doing work for Capone, but they were basically out for themselves, essentially. And because they have Irish beer, bear in mind this is the Prohibition era as well, so alcohol was illegal. With them having the Irish beer, it suggested that they played the mafia and Capone and stuff off against Irish gangsters in Chicago. So they were fucking people over left, right, and centre, essentially. But they were also working with them, but really, out for themselves. They were up to no good.
So what was the point of the juke joint? They want to build this juke joint for the day. No, they're building it. They're going to own it, right? They're buying.
Yeah. Oh no, they were going to make it. They were planning to make an absolute fortune out of it.
So they had the money to just buy it. They had the liquor they stole, so they were supposed to make the money from the liquor, and that's why there's a fight that brews because they're like you're giving our people, they're not paying. You're giving them beer on credit. We can't live on credit.
Yeah, they were basically putting into their own community, coming home to put into their own community, but at the same time, there were no dozers either. They made a lot of money through crime in Chicago and basically fucking over the likes of the mafia and the Irish gangsters and stuff. But also, they were coming back to, put into their own community, but at the same time, make a load more money. It's basically a new business venture with this shebang, as I would call it, which is the Irish name for an illegal drinking den.
Yeah. Juke choice.
Yes.
So you split up the brothers.
Yeah.
Stack has the red fedora. Smoke had the blue snap front brim. So that's how I was able to differentiate the names. So you have Stack and Smoke, and I always got confused who was Stack, who was Smoke. So
Well, to be fair, they are played by the same person.
I know they're twins. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But they do, and also we find out that Smoke is the violent one, which ironically enough is the one who is the badass in it. So it makes sense. I will say this: when I watched it the second time, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, especially with the first act. Until we meet Rimmick, which is about 45 minutes into it. That's Jack O'Connell's character, the vampire.
Yeah.
We're about 45. We'll even add another 10 minutes, and whatever. It takes a while to get into. It's almost the same thing with From Dusk Till Dawn.
Exactly.
From Dusk Till Dawn was more of a road movie halfway through it until they get to the titty twister and they get, their comeuppance or they get attacked.
Yeah.
And you have different characters. You have the Clooney, who was not a bad guy, but a messed up guy. You had Tarantino, who was kind of the nutter.
He was a rapist, yeah.
You have the priest, who was, played by Harvey Keitel, the ex-priest. So you have these different kind of characters, and these kind of characters kind of play on this. You've got Annie, who's kind of like the priest, who's the hoodoo, they call it. Her hoodoo instead of voodoo, it's called hoodoo. Where she's the one, the narrator, she's the one who's going to get these guys through.
She's the witchy woman. Yeah.
Witchy woman. And then you've got the two brothers who are just like George Clooney and Tarantino, one more violent than the other. So it does play homage to that, but obviously make it his own and during a time
and also
where Mississippi wasn't at its best.
Yeah, and also, both films are basically crime dramas, road movies, as you said, up until the twist midway. So yes, but to be fair to Coogler, he has openly admitted that, From Dusk Till Dawn is an inspiration for this.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, and I'm not putting him down for it at all. He's proven to be a solid director, and he wants to play a little nod and homage. And it's nice to see that Coogler grew up with the films I liked, From Dusk Till Dawn and the fact
he's about our age. Yeah.
So they're solid films. So there's nothing wrong once you become a staple in the industry to be able to go and have a little fun and and be able to tackle probably his favorite genre, which is probably horror. Because if he's already talked about the faculty and From Dusk Till Dawn and doing a horror film, Sinners, he clearly has horror films in his blood. Pardon the pun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was so smart.
Well, I mean, I'm actually going to say I actually like that one from you, Ciaran, to be fair, because blood, vampires, and there's lots of blood in this.
There you go. You just jumped into that one.
Credit where credit's due. You dick.
Fuck off. So when the two brothers, I do like when they split the two brothers up. One takes the equipment, the other is taking Sammy with him to get more talent.
Yes.
To join the band for tonight. And it's a good way of differentiating the characteristics of the brothers. Because we find out that Smoke, his good friends are looking at his truck and he finds out it's them. He ends up shooting them, not killing them, but literally no harm was done, but he still shoots one in the ass and he shoots the other one in the knee just to let you know, don't fuck with me. So you knew right away.
Badasses.
Exactly. It sets him up as the badass.
Yep.
Where the more reserved financial one and the business-minded one is with Sammy most of the time, and that's Stax.
And we do need that, I think, to set up the characters so that then later on, whenever the bad shit happens, you're emotionally connected there. And it's very, very well written. And I think it's, proper storytelling, including this first hour, which is a slow burn, but it sets it up very well.
Yeah, I was a little concerned with the slow burn. When I was mentioning From Dusk Till Dawn, it was a slow burn itself, but it was fun. You kind of liked the characters. You had some creepiness in there, and it was like a pot boiler. With this one, I didn't really feel a pot boiling.
Well, this is because Coogler's style of writing is more grounded, whereas Quentin Tarantino's, who wrote From Dusk Till Dawn, is more pulpy and quirky and, snappy. So it's just but Coogler's is more set in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what he was trying to do in the first 45 minutes or so. He's trying to show what it was like down in Mississippi, working on a cotton plantation,
Yeah,
and how things kind of worked. It's almost plays like a period piece.
it is a
Um,
period piece and a
yeah,
western almost.
yeah. So to understand, to be able to plant uh, that
And they
history
introduce
within
us
a
to
horror
that
film
world.
works. Was
Yes,
that?
it introduces us to that world, and we're sort of living in it for a while before all the crazy stuff happens. It works very well indeed.
Well, we'll start with the crazy shit. We got our boy Jack O'Connell. Hopefully, he's popping from a show over here called Skins in the UK.
Yes, I know
But
it. I know of it. Yeah.
he tried to make it in the States, and he did a couple films. They didn't do quite well, and so it's nice to see him getting this other big break, because this movie catapulted, and he is the scene stealer of the film.
He's brilliant.
I mean, you've got Delroy Lindo, who's fucking genius in his craft. You got Michael B. Jordan, who's very good at what he does. You're surrounded by some wonderful acting here, but he does steal the show. And so it's nice to see him get a second due, and hopefully this way will bring him,
Yeah.
another
And
resurgence for him.
his vampire has proper presence and threat, and he's just brilliant as a villain.
He does have threat, of course he does, but there's something about him, and this is him selling it, and we'll certainly get to the scene where he's trying to get into the door, and he's talking to the whole gang, Annie, and he's talking to Miss Crow.
Yeah.
Crow?
I don't.
Chow. Sorry,
Chow. Yeah.
Great. He's talking to Grace, and that's a great scene. But we'll dive into that in a second here. But yeah, I love the intro to Remick. He runs up to a house. He's being chased by people, and he's begging them to let me in. He looks to the corner. You can see they're KKK.
Yeah.
They got the little outfits, but he lets them in and obviously turns them. It's a fun little scene. It's a good setup, because I like the fact when you meet him, and then once he's playing all serious, oh, please let me in, I'm going to die, don't let them torture me, blah, blah, blah. But then when she goes around the corner, he's already turned her husband, and he's sitting there, oh, he'll be up in a moment. And right away, he's got a nice little sense of humor. And we need a good vampire with a sense of humor.
Yeah, and I also like that the vampires, whenever they're turned, they have a hive mind, and the backstory for the lead vampire is great, where he talks about later on how, again, it goes back to the whole sinners and religious stuff, how it basically his people back in Ireland, ancient Ireland, so it suggests that he's probably about 1,500 years old, were basically taken over by Christianity, and Christianity didn't come to Ireland until maybe around the 7th century, BC, or maybe after. I would have to check my facts there. So I think that's great, where that then suggests that he would have been pagan Irish, but also that he's about 1,500 years old. Well, maybe about over 1,000 years old anyway.
Yeah, and we'll get more of those kind of dialogue with him. Very smart writing by Ryan Coogler. And
yep.
So there's a scene in that's fucking wonderful, and it's where Slim introduces Sammy to the crowd.
Yeah,
and he's going to play guitar for the first time. And the whole thing is just beautiful music. This soundtrack's amazing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It is a wonderful, astonishing scene. And all it is, it's almost like a 10-minute window of black music.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, as he's singing and everyone's getting involved, you see some of the characters wearing modern clothes. You see some of them wearing, all the way to, then you see
tribal.
They're putting in little blues, they're putting a little jazz, they're putting in a little rap.
Created scene, and
it is the way it's the whole thing. It's a history of black music, is what it is, told mixed with this current song that Sammy's singing. It's actually amazing. And then you got the narration. You got the house, which is on fire, like they're burning down the house. That they're like they're rocking the house down, and it's just a wonderful nod, because then we're about to get the flip side of that with the Irish music Remick.
Well, I mean, this scene, all of this is basically a musical as well, as a period piece and a western and a horror. But this scene, I think the narration says something like, whenever music is authentic, it conjures the spirits of music past and future. So you have all this anachronistic, like 1990s, 21st century musicians in the tribal music and all. It's fantastically done. So it is. And it's great music as well.
Yeah, and as that's happening, Remick and the other two show up, and he goes, "We just want to come in and have some fun." He's very charming, very likable.
Well, that's the vampire lore. You have to, like the devil as well, they have to be invited in.
And they just don't trust him. I think Smoke or Stack says, "We let him in. Someone spills a beer on him accidentally. That starts a brawl, and then we got a bunch of other white guys coming in." So that's why they were hesitant. Again, they're in the middle of the deep south in Mississippi, so we can understand their paranoia and their reserve.
Yeah, it was during the Jim Crow era and segregation and stuff, so very tense times, let's just say.
Yeah. So we can understand that. But it's the downfall and the greed that is Stacks, because he has an argument with Mary about, we can't be giving our drink away. We got to make money. We can't live on credit. And so Mary goes, "Well, you just turned away people. You don't know how much money they have." And him going, "Oh, that's a good point." So he's thinking money. So she goes out to talk to them about, "Do you have any money?" And it ends up being her downfall. She gets bitten.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that no one is safe here, So there's proper actual threat. We don't know who's going to get turned. So that is really well played. I also love how basically, edit this out. I've lost my train of thought. Edit this bit. What was I going to say? Oh, fuck.
No, we keep this because I want people to know what I have to deal with every day.
No, I was going to say something there. Oh, it'll come back to me. I just lost.
Oh yeah, it'll come back to you when I'm saying something poignant, like I always am. And then you'll.
No, that's what it was. I was going to say that I love how everyone in this film is a flawed character. That's where I was going with that there. Nobody is, there's no, out and out good guys or bad guys. They're just proper, well-rounded, flawed characters, human characters.
Well, I'm going to say the KKK are bad.
Well, yes, obviously they're the sort of.
Well, you said they're,
But bullshit. No, but they are obviously what you might call it. They're not in it much. I'm talking about the main players here. You only see them at the start and the end. Whenever you find out the twist of the bar and what they had.
Okay, let's move on. Yeah, you're jumping ahead there now. But yeah. So and then there's a conversation with Sammy and Smoke where he tells them you should go to a place called Mount Bayou or something like that if you want to play music. But he wants to explore and go to Chicago like they did. And he says there's no future, kind of like what his father was telling him, which I didn't get. His father, the preacher, saying, the smoke, you play with the devil, you'll bring the devil home, he says to him once. Yeah. And he's talking about the music. Well, Smoke kind of says the same thing to him. And I was confused. And he goes, if you do that, if you do leave and play music, I'll find you and kill you. I didn't understand that.
He was just being a sort of badass. It was like tough love, type thing. I mean, he wasn't really going to kill him. It was more like a sort of. Although they're cousins, it was more like a brotherly sort of, trying to steer him right, but in a tough way. If you know what I mean.
So he's telling that.
But I would say that Sammy's dad, the preacher, is technically right, because with their music, they literally do invite the devil. Yeah, actually, two forms of devil: the vampires and the KKK.
He tells them, but Smoke tells him, "This is your last juke. You're not playing anymore." I didn't understand that. He wasn't. So he's telling him, "Don't play the music. It's crap. Just go do something else. Just go live your life in Mount Bayou." I didn't understand why he was pushing him away from music, because the guy's clearly talented. Where his brother, Stacks, was in the car with him. He starts playing the guitar. His brother's, "Wow, that's amazing." So they're two opposite. There's
conflict there.
Yeah, I just didn't get why Smoke was so against him playing music. It just didn't seem Oh,
I don't. I think he wanted him to play it, but stay with them and for them to mentor him. I don't think he wanted him to go away. I think it was just some form of like emotional blackmail type thing. I don't think he really meant it. I think ultimately he was current, but he was a bit too much of a badass, and it was like a sort of bravado thing. So I did believe he meant the best for Sammy, but sort of on his terms. If
so
you know
we
what I
got
mean.
yeah. Well, when I do like when Mary approaches Remick and the team,
Mm-hmm.
and they're playing Oir's Time.
Oh, the Rocky Road to Dublin. That scene.
Rock. No, isn't no. That's not that. No, when she goes out, there's only three of them at this point,
Oh, sorry. Yes,
and
at that point, yeah, the Rocky
and
Road
he's
to
playing
Dublin's later on.
Irish. What is it? Wild Irish Time. Like I'm speaking
Yeah,
Irish.
and he's got
Like
the
that.
gold
That's my
coins
Irish
and stuff.
accent. It's pretty
Yeah.
good. Oh, top of the morning to you. Irish Time.
You're like Warwick Davis in Leprechaun.
I said, get my wee pot of gold.
Oh, yes. At this point, it's the Rocky Road to Dublin scene is later on.
That's the best. I love that scene.
Oh, it's superb.
So I do like the chat between Mary and the team. And again, that's what makes the film. It's the dialogue before someone is turned eventually. There's like a 5-minute dialogue between Remick and the person. He's like, you'll have Remick and Grace coming up. You'll have Remick talking to Smoke soon, and the conversation is enthralled. And he makes, and the funny thing is, Remick actually makes some good points at the same time. And like a good vampire would do to get them turned. But it's, I don't know.
There's proper tension, and it's just really well written. So it is. I think this is whatever Remick talks about. The whole pagan sort of ancient Ireland stuff and all, and then he produces a couple of gold coins as well, again highlighting how old he is. So it's little touches like that where it's show don't tell. It's just really well done.
Yeah, there's a line with Remick when he's talking to Mary, and this is kind of the nail in the coffin, where he goes, "I'm sorry to hear about your mother."
Yes.
And she goes, "I wish I could have been there and saved her before her fate, but I can save you." And then he comes out of the darkness, and his eyes are, the red eyes, and he's drooling, which was a nice add-on. I never thought about vampires drooling, messy bastards. But I thought about it, and the drooling is them, licking their lips.
They're addicts. It goes back to the whole, they're addicts, they're addicted to blood, so it's just the thought of drinking her blood, so that's why, it's a good touch.
Yeah, it is, but I've never seen it before done, so it is a nice touch, something different. Again, up to Coogler's decision, and well played. But I do like the shot where she was walking away from him, and then he just lifts up into the air, and then it quickly cuts to loud music in the juke joint, and as they're out there, they're sitting there dancing, having a great time. That Mary's getting her comeuppance.
Yep. Oh yeah. So that she's basically turned at this point. Yes.
There's another shot, another nice shot where Cornbread. I like Cornbread. He's a character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, but he's going to take a piss, and you can hear like they're taunting him as he whispers. You can really hear the saying, but just whispers, faint whispers. But then you can see their eyes kind of in the background, but you wouldn't really think about it because it almost looks like fireflies. Which
I knew it was the vampires.
Which you get in Mississippi. So it's a nice little, eyes, is the fireflies? Because there's a scene coming up where we're reintroduced to Cornbread, and we quite don't know if he's turned yet. It's very fun, and that's it's very playful.
Yeah,
I mean, a good vampire film dialogue should be playful and smart,
and also the vampire lore. It plays well with the vampire lore, and I like that, those touches. Where it's taking it serious, and it's sort of Coogler's. He knows his stuff and he's done his homework.
Yeah. So when Mary's turn now, she goes out and starts fucking stacks.
Yes.
And there's a scene where she's like, "Why are you drooling? Oh, do you want some?" And he opens his mouth and she drools in his mouth. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, bitch. Man? Yeah. She got rabies, dude.
Kinky vampire bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. But before everything goes down, and another thing, the music always plays along with what's happening.
It tells the story.
So as Mary is seducing Stack, we have the woman singing "Don't Let the Sun Shine No More."
Yeah.
And she keeps repeating it, don't let the sun shine, because as she's and anyways, as she's singing it and the music's getting louder and they're stamping, there's one shot, it's one take, and it's where Sammy is told by, I can't remember who, to go check on Stacks. We might have a problem here. And he goes to open the door, sees them fucking. He closes the door, walks over to Smoke. Oh, Smoke tells him to do it. And he goes, Smoke.
Yeah.
He goes, where's my brother? He's getting some yum time. And Smoke's like, fuck that, I'll get him. So he leaves, goes open the door, and instead of seeing him being, getting it on, he's now being eaten.
Yeah.
And it's just one take. And it's just a really nice setup to a scene of lovemaking. And then a half a second later, it's turned into.
Well, lovemaking's quite an eloquent way of describing it, I must say. It's more like being shagged and murdered by an evil vampire lady.
Well, you don't know that until Smoke opens the door. She could have been, after the
drooling gives it away. Yeah.
Obviously. But it's a nice shot. It's just one little take, and I enjoy that.
Oh, it's all. But I will go back. Yeah,
because when Smokes opens that door, we're going to see something different.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I would say that's another thing I loved, how basically every song here is telling some aspect of the story of the film. So really like that as well within it.
And then when he shoots her quite a few times, she just gets up and goes, we're going to kill all of you.
Yeah.
And then Stax dies. So, but it's an effective death too, because it really showed the love between the two brothers.
The emotion.
And Jordan sells both parts quite well, which could be hard to do, especially if you're playing dual roles.
Oh no, Jordan's great here at giving, even though they're identical twin brothers, he's great here at giving them, distinct personalities, subtle but still distinct personalities.
Exactly, and that's why I believe he separated them in the film.
Yes,
so we could have that. They're very rarely together. They are, but she's from the back But most of the film, they're separated, talking to their significant others or whatever's going on.
Like what happened in real life with twins. Yeah, exactly.
There's a nice line. And to me, the best character, I like Remick. He's my favorite character, to be honest with you. But my favorite is Annie. And she's the voodoo.
Yes.
I guess a hoodoo, you call it.
Witchy woman.
And she's smart as hell. There's a line where she goes, wait a minute, what did she say to you guys after you shot her? Sammy goes, we're going to kill you all. And then all she says is, we? And so she puts together, there's more of these coming. Yeah. And she knows pretty much, she puts the pieces together, what these are, because of her background.
Yep. Mm-hmm. She knows all about the spirits and the spirit world. And she also knows that this is worse, actually. They're actually vampires. They're the worst kind of evil spirit types.
And then now you're left with Smoke, which is the one you kind of wanted, because Smoke, as we mentioned earlier, he's the aggressive one. He's the violent. He'll shoot anything.
Badass.
So you have him under your belt. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And again, this is where it goes proper, like Dusk Till Dawn, where you have the sort of ragtag team having to band together and fight the vampires, and they're trapped in the bar.
Yeah.
The vampires trying to get in and them.
You've got Annie, Delta Slim, Pearline, Sammy, Grace, and you got Smoke. Those are the left. And there's a scene where Cornbread comes back. This is the scene I mentioned earlier. And the whole dialogue, he's like, are you Smoke? Hey, Smoke, you know who I am? We're like brothers, blah, blah, blah. And it's so smart. And Annie's challenging him because Annie knows who he is. Where Smoke knows he's his friend. He just want to, make sure who to believe here. He's fucked if he takes a strong decision. But there's a line that Smoke finally says. She goes, you've been coming in and out of this place all day, walking in and out. But now you're asking to be invited in?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, and that's whenever he realizes what's going on here. You know what I mean? Yeah. This isn't right. Because, yeah, again, good old vampire lore, sticking to it.
Yeah. And I love the scene where Annie knows right away what to do. So she gets pickled garlic. She throws a jar of pickled garlic on on Stack's face when he wakes up because he's obviously a vampire now, and he runs out. It's kind of like acid to him, I guess.
Burning up, yeah.
So all she says is, we just got to hold up till sunrise, okay? We need garlic, wood, silver, holy water. And there's a great scene and it reminded me of The Thing. She goes,
yes,
we need to realize who's not who here, or who's who. Or do we realize if one of us returned, I need you to eat this piece of garlic.
Yes, and it's totally The Thing, trying to work out, the paranoia.
Yeah. I loved it. That is such a great scene. And there's another scene where they see a dead body in the kitchen, and they throw that dead body out in the front, and they soon realize that was just wine. It wasn't blood that they saw spilled. So that poor bastard gets it. But it's nice. They fuck up. They're paranoid. Yeah. They're scared. Was this guy bitten? I don't know. Let's chuck him out. But the poor bastard ends up getting it. But there's the scene I love the most is the scene where it's Remick and everyone, white, black, they're all dancing the Irish jig. And they're singing, this is what you're talking about, Dublin.
Yeah, the Rocky Road to Dublin.
The Rocky Road to Dublin. It's a wonderful scene. And I could see much more of this.
Yeah, it's so haunting, but at the same time, so beautiful and just atmospheric. It's just fantastically realized.
They all have the red eyes, and they're all clapping, and you got white with black, and they're all enjoying the music, and they're all, what I mean?
It's so clever as well, in terms of, the lyrics of the song, how they're essentially telling the story of Remick as well, and, it's just fantastic scene, along with the earlier scene with all of the blues and modern past and present black music. This is one of the big highlights of the film.
Yeah, it's a complete opposite of what we got, where one was about music and joy and love and
culture
and culture. Well, this is I was kind of getting the same thing. I know. I think it's funny. I guess if you get bit by an Irish vampire, you instantly learn how to jig and do Irish ballads.
I'm doing an Irish jig. I would say that a lot of this film with the subtext, with the sort of white vampires coming and stuff, I think that there's a lot of commentary here about certain white people maybe hijacking black culture, or as it would be known today, cultural appropriation. But again, it's very cleverly, it's not beating you over the head with it. It's very cleverly written and handled and performed. So there is definitely that subtext there of the hijacking of black culture to appear virtuous or whatever, there's definitely commentary there on that. So there is.
The first main contact with Remick and the rest of the team that's left, and they're at the doorway, and he knows to go after Grace.
Yes, and
Grace, you need, he's trying to get her to say you have my permission to come in, and he's so the way he sells it to her is, come with me, yada yada yada. Gives the whole song and dance as you get in all vampire films.
Yes.
But then when he knows he's not really getting her, all he says in the same tone, he doesn't. Great thing about a good vampire, and I noticed this especially with Chris Sarandon and with Colin Farrell's performance in Fright Night, was and even with David from Lost Boys.
Yes, Keith Sutherland.
They keep their tone. They're very relaxed. They're not calm. They're not going to raise you unless they're being burned or something. But he just in the same tone, he's being very polite, and he's trying to explain the existence with us. And then he just says, and if you don't want to do that, I'll just pay a visit to your grocer and go see your daughter.
I know that. Yeah. And it's a proper sinister threat. And that's when, but it's also very clever because he sort of knows, I think he knows that she's going to lose it then. And it's because of her that they all actually get in, with the whole, when it all takes off.
Yeah, he finally gets to her, but not because, she's kind of a badass, Grace. But it doesn't help where he starts talking to the others about, you guys realize where you are right now? You're not in a juke joint, okay? You're in a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, and
because the man you bought this from is coming here this morning, and they're going to slaughter all of you with his KKK, because it turns out Hogwood is the head master, dragon master, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Grand Dragon bullshit.
Grand Dragon fuckface.
Yeah.
And Bert and Joan were going to help before he turned them.
Yes, that's
so
right.
He's telling them, listen, I turned them. They're not going to.
I'm on your side here.
Yeah. So
and
that's
also,
that's where who the villains. That's where I'm thinking. I know, don't get me wrong, the vampires are bad, but it's the KKK that are the real assholes here. We all know. You know,
I would say as well,
bastards.
That the stuff with the KKK, this whole thing with the shebang and the bar, it's a scam that they've been doing for a while. It's heavily suggested once you've seen it, and you remember back to the scene where they get the bar off this older guy, this Grand Dragon KKK guy. There's a line of dialogue where it says, "This floor looks like it's just been cleaned," and it has, because you find out later on that it's basically been cleaned of the blood of the previous ones that they scammed and then massacred, slaughtered in it.
Yeah, and I think that's when they finally tell him to fuck off and shut the door. Grace, they're starting to get ready. We gotta defend ourselves. Grace finally loses it. Says, "Come on in, motherfuckers."
Yeah, yeah. It's her fault that they get in. So
yeah.
And it's because Remick has played her and wound her up saying that they're going to get her. Well, they're saying that they've got her husband, but also that they're going to get their daughter.
And then once he says that, Remick has this great grin.
Yeah. That's it. He's won. He's got the better of her. He played her. So
Grace is badass. God, I love her as a character. This chick's bad. I mean, they all have. We talk about arcs a lot. They all, everyone has an arc, and they're all badass. You'll see Slim sacrifices himself to save the others by cutting his wrist open and feeding himself to the vampires, so there could be a distraction. You got Grace, who literally is on fire and jumping on a vampire and stabbing him in the chest. You've got Annie, who asks Smokes to kill her if she gets bitten before she turns. She obviously gets bit, and there's a great scene where he has to, kill her. And again, you really kind of start getting these characters.
There's emotion there because,
Well, but that's why when I remember texting you the other night going, God, this is 60 minutes in. What the fuck's happening? Are we going to have any killing? But now I get it. I get it.
There's the point. There's the point to the slow burn, because that means later on when the bad shit happens to the characters, you care because you're emotionally invested. You've got to know them over this hour of the slow burn. That's the point. It's proper professional storytelling by Ryan Coogler. So
then you got Pearline, who you thought would make it with Sammy, because they're the kind of young love interests. Yes. And Pearline gets it. She's gone.
No one's safe.
No one's safe. Everyone's getting it. And Smoke and now Stax are fighting. The two brothers. I like the nice little twist where Stax is trying to bite him. I was wondering what was going on to the second viewing, why he couldn't bite him in the neck, because he's got that silver medallion around his neck. That's right. That witchy woman give him. Yeah. So, and I just love it, and I love the practical effects mostly. I mean, there is a bit of CGI. Practical. Yeah, besides just little tweaks here and there, but he says most of it. That's where the money was. The time and effort into practical. I think definitely the way the best way for me anyway that CGI works. I know I criticize it a lot, but the best way is that for me that it works is whenever it's complementing the practical and it's not just all CGI, because that sticks out like a sore thumb when it's all CGI. So there is a lot of practical here tweaked with a bit of CGI, which I really, really liked and appreciated. There's a wonderful scene where Sammy runs away as the chaos is happening, and our boy gets some Remick. This is a great scene. And I love the scene where Sammy starts praying to himself, "Our Father who art in heaven," and all the vampires starts praying with him. Oh, yeah, mocking him. So fucking creepy. Sinister. And then Remick's going on his speech, and almost looks like Remy's baptizing him. He's throwing him underneath the water and bringing him back up. It gets back to the religious stuff with his preacher dad. You know what I mean? This is so clever. Yeah. And then I love the fact he takes his guitar and the silver. I thought it was again because it was silver, but whatever it was, the hard steel, whatever it was of the guitar, sticks it in his head. Practical, fucking awesome. He's a big whack of the center of the guitar hanging out of his head. But him doing that, because I like the fact we forgot to mention where Annie tells everyone guys, you hit Remick,
Yes.
you hurt them.
Yes.
So
they're a hive mind.
Yes, when he bashes him in the head, gives him that severe head injury, that's going to, even though he's going to survive it, it's still going to take him out for a moment. But the great thing about it, all the vampires can't attack him either because they're feeling the pain. And because it's such a delayed injury for him to bounce back from it, the sun comes up right in time and just smokes him. He's got a good death. I like a good vampire death. That's a good vampire death.
I would, as a bit of overall, I felt this is great, but as a minor quibble, I thought the vampires were a bit stupid and should have, at this point, and should have known that the sun was about to rise very soon. So they should have prepared for that with their vampire hive mind, but I get it as well. It is a minor quibble.
I don't think it would be because I don't think they would really know. Because they're kind of naive, because they're new.
Remick would know for definite. He's not naive, and their hive mind. He's controlling.
Yeah, so Remick would have been more cautious, but he was so.
He had a guitar hanging out of his head.
Yeah, he was out of it, but it's still good. Still good death.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love when Sammy drives away, and then that goes back to the beginning. But you still have Stack sitting there, and he's got one little surprise left, and he decides he's going to wait for the KKK to come back.
Yeah. I would say as well, part of their backstory, which is confirmed here, which ties in with this, is they actually served in World War I. So they did. So you see, whenever he gets the Tommy guns and stuff from Chicago, there's also grenades there, which is probably from their time in World War I. Whenever he's preparing for the KKK.
But yeah, he pretty much. Once you see a Tommy gun, though, I'm assuming he just stole that from Capone.
Yes. But I think the grenades were maybe from the war.
But yeah, when he just fucking ambushes them and just kills them all, doesn't even. Now he takes a fatal shot, he bleeds out. But
yeah,
when he sees Hogwarts face and he just pummels him with bullets, and everyone in the theater at this point, vampire lovers, or Stacks and smoke lovers, they don't care. They're rooting for these guys to get it.
Yeah.
And so when they get slaughtered, and I do like when Annie kept telling him, if I don't make it, we have somebody waiting for us on the other side. And she's talking about the lost child that him and her had together. And you see Smokes dying in peace because he looks to his right, and we see Annie and the baby.
Yes.
And so, and as he dies, I do love when we cut to 1992. And we got the great Buddy Guy playing old Sammy.
Yes, yeah.
Such a nice scene.
Excellent scene.
And I thought it was just going to be him playing. Did you see the name of the bar?
Yes, it's Perline.
Perline.
Yeah.
Perline. It's named after his first love. And
that's right.
I do like the fact we got Stax comes back with Mary.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, please don't ruin this and turn this into a fucking... but it's not. He just came to say hi to him. And he goes, I promise my brother let me go. And because his brother, he had such a bond with his brother, he wasn't going to break this promise. Says, I'm never to touch you. But I just want to say hi. And I know you're older now, and I want to give you the opportunity. Do you want to join us? And he says pretty much no. And
he sniffs him and goes, you haven't got long left.
Yeah.
With his vampire sense, And I love how he's dressed like an early 90s sort of hip hop garb and all as well.
They got that 92 Cosby sweaters. I know you don't want to mess with Cosby, but this big bright color sweaters he used to wear and all that.
Do the right thing, and it's proper for the period, the era.
Yeah, do the right thing, and But continuity is definitely there. At the very end credits, you can stay, and then you'll have a little
guitar solo
by Sammy, which is pretty nice. Doesn't really set anything. It's just more of a goodbye kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there you go. Sinners.
Yeah. Best, I would say it's very possibly the best film I've seen this year. I think it's a fantastic film overall and a fantastic vampire horror film. It's, it's just all round. I think this is just great storytelling, and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I was teetering on it because of the length of it, but by the second viewing, I got it, understood why it had to be that long. I just said that with the last Mission Impossible. I know that's night and day
Yeah,
films, but I said that in that one. I'm going to back up with this one. You can't edit it. You
yeah.
can't because you're taking away some of the substance. So you just can't. And then obviously the ending pays off when these characters are getting it. You're invested in them.
I would
And
say. Try go ahead.
and so to be able to take such a dark history from during the Prohibition era in Mississippi and be able to blend it with humor and with vampires,
Yeah.
pretty impressive to be able to pull that off.
You know what I loved about this? One of the big things I loved about this, I mean, there's a lot to really like about this, but the fact that it is so very clever, but it is not elevated horror. It's not pretentious drivel. Know what I mean? It is not pretentious in any way. It is just a lot of fun, but also really smart and clever. And
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up because people who like your boy Edgar's, like that Nosferatu, which was terrible, he needs to watch this film. Robert Eggers needs to fucking watch this film.
I like Eggers.
He needs to watch this film and go, okay, I need to do something. No, he does because this batshit crazy. It's terrible. If I hear Atmospheric one more time mentioning fucking Eggers, I'm gonna fucking go ape shit. He does. Now he's doing a Wolfman movie. It's gonna suck dick. All right.
Well, you don't know that. You haven't seen it. I'm a fan of Eggers.
It's gonna be.
You don't know that.
It's not about a werewolf. It's about a man who never shaved. You don't get it, man. That's what wolves were like back then.
I would admit that he does need to maybe branch out into something a little less depressing, and heavy. Maybe he could do some sort of slapstick carry-on film or something. Who knows?
No, this is horror done right. Period. You said it perfectly. It's not elevated, and that's what makes it horror. Not that elevated shit. The elevated is horrible, but it's not horror. This is true horror, and this is mastercraft filmmaking. And kudos to everyone in it, the actors, everybody. And Jack O'Connell, I hope you have a resurgence over here because you stole the movie. You're so good. You're so funny.
I would say that Eggers isn't elevated horror to me, but he does need to chill out a bit. But this is great. It is not elevated horror. It is, you know what I mean, all round just superbly entertaining, but clever and making serious points at the same time, but weaved within the story as part of the story and not beating the audience over the head as if they're stupid. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's a good time. Very, very pleased. Who knew? I don't think anybody knew. We're like, everyone saw this trailer for this. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I was going to say that. The trailer was very sort of, I get that you don't want to give too much away in a trailer, but it was underwhelming, the trailer.
Yeah.
So really glad I got to see it.
Yeah. Word of mouth skyrocketed for this one.
I was going to say that as well. Actually, that was something that I meant to talk about. The power of word of mouth whenever something is proper quality. Take note, Hollywood executives. People aren't stupid, and word of mouth works.
I tell you what, if you like a good horror film, you should certainly sink your teeth into this one.
Boom, boom.
Oh, good one.
Right.
All right.
Count Woods.
Well, that's the worst. That terrible vampire name.
Count Woods. Well, it's your vampire name, so don't blame me.
Well, Count Ciaran. That's pretty good.
Right.
I'll be like, oh my God, here comes Count Ciaran. But I'll be so badass they call me CC.
People, you don't think people are shouting count at you. It'll be another word that sounds very like it, but we'll not go there.
They'll be like, oh my God, here he comes. He's so cool. His CC's coming to town.
Yeah, but Ciaran would think we're calling him a count, but you just wouldn't be.
Yeah, you already said it. You're repeating it. See, you can't repeat the same joke.
Boom.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Next up is Possum, terrible piece of shit. And I
haven't seen it yet.
I can't wait to see I promise you, Trevor will go, oh my God, it's masterpiece filmmaking.
I haven't seen it yet.
Shit.
So I'm keeping an open mind, and that's all I'm saying. Because unlike you, I don't prejudge films. So there you go.
Yeah, you do all the time. You actually read the spoilers of the films before you see them.
Aye, but that's no. I bet that's a flaw.
No, don't tell me I don't prejudge. Though I did
Yeah.
kind of prejudge this because the trailer was shit.
Well, there you go. So you're just admitting it.
Well, no, that's different. They were spoon feeding me crap, and I ended up getting a nice turkey dinner.
Oh, happy days!
All right,
good on you.
We're done. All right, yeah, we got Possum Up, and then we got Shark Month, and that's us, guys. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening. All the best.